Good afternoon. It's February 23rd, the seventh Sunday in Ordinary Time. And in our readings today, we have this interesting challenge. And one of the things I love to do is, especially with the Synoptic Gospels, is compare one author to another author. And again, we have in St. Luke, writing to the Gentiles, the Greeks, we have this teaching on love your enemy. And how do we respond to an enemy? We respond with love. We respond with compassion. We respond with prayer. Same time we have Matthew's gospel, and Matthew, writing to a Jewish audience, right, tells us the same thing, but the people understand it a different way. And when you take these two gospels and you kind of layer them over top of each other, and you take a look at the other readings that are attached to them, especially in this case, the first reading, where we hear how Saul has gone out once again to try and kill David. And David responds in compassion and love. He sneaks into the encampment of Saul. He steals his water jug and his spear, takes them away, and then points out, I could have killed you, but I didn't. I met your offense with compassion and love. And so we're challenged in this, but when we dig a little deeper, where is Saul's issue coming from? And Saul's issue is jealousy and envy. And when we look into the Gospels, again, we see this element of jealousy and envy. Oftentimes, where does that come from? Where does our dislike for people come from? Where does our inability to get along with some people or our unwillingness to accept some people? And a lot of it comes out of envy and jealousy. It could be on their side, could be on our side, but it's also our lack of respect for difference. See, one of the cool things about being Catholic is equality has nothing to do with how I look, how I dress, what I have, what I don't have. Our equality is based on something very simple. We are all God's children, and we are loved unconditionally. We are forgiven multiple times because Jesus loved us first. And he suffered and died and rose from the dead for our salvation. All of us. Not just some, not just the wealthy, not just the poor, not the middle class, not the Greeks, not the Jews, not the women, not the men, all of us. Everybody. And there's our sense of equality. All of us are God's children, and all of us are loved unconditionally. And God created us diverse. Think of it this way, if everybody looked like me, what kind of a world would that be? We want diversity. We want difference. And God created it. Not all of us have the same gifts and talents. I like to use the example of a symphony. If all of us played the violin, but nobody played any other instrument but the violin, what kind of symphony will we have? We want the violin. We want the piano. We want the oboe. We want the diversity. Personally, one of my favorite instruments is the violin. I love the violin. My grandfather played the violin. I love to listen to him play it. And I always wanted to play it. But when I tried to practice on it, every cat in the neighborhood left town. I don't have the gift. My all-time favorite instrument of all is the oboe. I love the oboe. But you know what? If all you're ever listening to is just the oboe by itself, it doesn't take very long before it becomes irritating rather than calming and soothing. It needs the support of the other instruments. You and I are like this incredible symphony that God has created. And it's the diversity of all of us that makes it sound wondrous and creates the wondrous kingdom of God. We need each other. But do we support each other? Do we encourage each other? Do we help each other along the way? Or do we allow our jealousies and our envies to tear us apart? God created all of us in his likeness and image. Doesn't mean we look like him. What it means is we have that essence of God in all of us. But God is perfect. You and I are not. Some people have a gift of music. Some people have a gift of speaking. Some people have a gift of mechanics. Some people have a gift to fly an airplane. But we don't have all of those gifts together. As a community we do, but as individually, no, we don't. And so do I celebrate the diversity? Do I rejoice in the diversity? And do I uphold the diversity? See, in our world today, for some reason, equality has a tendency to mean sameness. To be equal, we have to be the same. Our faith is not like that. We're all equal because we're God's children. And we're diverse because God created us that way, so that we might help each other and build each other up. That we might celebrate the diversity of all of God's people and rejoice in that diversity. But our jealousy, our envies, our sinfulness has a tendency to tear that down. As we celebrate this weekend, you might want to look around and ask yourself about the diversities out there. See, I think one of the greatest sins is when somebody has a gift and they don't use it. I don't know how many of you have run into people where you know somebody has a gift for music, but they don't want to use it. Or you have somebody with a gift for science, but they don't want to use it. And on one hand, that's okay because we all have free will. But the other side of the coin is if you have a gift, explore it. And as most of us learn as we get older, we never really have plumbed the depths of our giftedness. We have never really plumbed the depths of the talents that God gave us. Just because you're older doesn't mean you can't do stuff. And sometimes because you're older means you can do it better. But the challenge is do I keep looking for diversity in my life? Do I keep exploring the gifts and talents that God has gifted me with? What God has blessed me with? And He didn't just bless me with it for myself. God gives us gifts, bless us with talents for the good of the entire community, the diversity of all God's creation. It is February 23rd, 2025. It's the 7th Sunday in Ordinary Time. May God continue to watch over you, bless you, keep you safe all the days of your life.